If you're an avid Harry Potter fan and haven't been living under a rock, then you probably witnessed an incredible scene while hearing a very familiar name during the final trailer for Fantastic Beasts 2: The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Nagini.
I think most of us were captivated by the fact that the Snake Girl is in fact Nagini, Voldemort's snake. Or is she just that? Since she's technically a person, should we call her an ally of Voldemort instead? Anyway, my question or questions are, what exactly is going on with her Maledictus condition? How did she and Voldemort meet? When did they encounter each other? How did a relationship develop between the two? Well, I've worked out a theory for today's video, so let's take a look. I'll be honest, hearing Nagini's name being spoken literally just awoken the Harry Potter fanatic in me, because as much as she may be part of the Fantastic Beasts movie now, Nagini is a character from Harry Potter. So in my eyes, even though the books are finished, J.K. Rowling has reconnected to them once again by including a character that was so important to the antagonist of the Potter story. It's always been difficult to place Nagini in Voldemort's life. She's one of the few characters that genuinely lacks a backstory, so I'm happy to see that JK is taking a small but important individual to Voldemort and is basically presenting the character's origins to us on screen. So many of you are aware that Nagini is a Maledictus, which is a blood curse that affects only females. Now, the other only known sufferer of a blood curse is Astoria Malfoy, wife of Draco, and we discovered this in The Cursed Child. Now, J.K. Rowling did have a hand in certain parts of the Cursed Child story, so is this her way of perhaps familiarising us beforehand so we have a better understanding of Nagini's condition, basically making us aware that a maledicti can exist? Now, the word maledictus is basically broken down into two words. Mal is a prefix of the Latin origin meaning bad, wrongful or ill. Dictus in Latin means spoken. So the words ill-spoken or bad-spoken or wrongful spoken is another name or another phrase for curse. So once again, J.K. Rowling shows her dedication in actually researching the name with good taste and intention. I've also read some tweets and messages from fans saying that J.K. Rowling's recent tweet about holding onto that information about Nagini for the last 20 years was purely a lie to make us fall more in love with the hype of her character, and is an even bigger genius than we all thought. Well, I'm here to tell you that she's telling the truth. How? Well, the truth is staring you right in the face. It's in the name. The name Nagini originates from several Indian religions. According to Wikipedia, Nagini is described as a female counterpart for a class of entity or being that takes the form of a very large snake in Indian religions, sometimes seen with a partly human female form. So JK knew all along what Nagini was, and it's incredible how many secrets this woman must be holding that could blow the roof off so many topics. Now, when it comes to Nagini's condition, I've got a few concerns. In terms of transforming, this blood curse seems to have placed her in between that of a werewolf and an animagus. Now, I'm not saying she's a werewolf or an animagus. What I mean is, we all know a werewolf has no control over their change. We know an animagus does have control over their change. Yet Nagini is supposed to be condemned by this curse to be transformed into a snake for life. Eventually. But until then, she can wittingly transform between her human form and snake form. It seems very odd. At what point does her blood curse consume her? It seems that she doesn't become consumed, as I've said, by this affliction until a later age in life. Childbirth seems to have an accelerating effect on it too, as it did with Astoria Malfoy. It's not entirely impossible to rule out that either, as she looks very close to Credence, who many believe to be Lestrange, by the way. I definitely don't think we'll see her permanently transformed into Nagini in this movie anyway. I think they'll most likely save that for maybe the next film afterwards. But we should find out the underlying explanation of her disease and how she's dealing with it. I have a personal belief that Nagini is limited with the amount of transformations she can make, and on her final transformation, she's condemned to the body of a snake for eternity. But why would she transform knowing she'd be stuck that way? There's always a reason. Anyway, we'll leave that there because that's a theory that I'm looking way more into, as it just popped into my head as I was recording. And maybe I'm sounding a little overzealous on that possibility too, but I do want to talk about something else, and that's the word I used to describe Nagini's lifespan: eternity. Nagini is most likely in her early 20s or late teens when she appears in the movie, and judging by her date of death in 1998, subtracting the Crimes of Grindelwald timeline, which is 1926, that's 72 years. Then adding on maybe the 20 years for her current age in the movie, Nagini is approximately 92 years old during the Battle of Hogwarts. The average age of a Viper is 20 years, so that's 72 years past the snake's lifespan, meaning a Maledictus becomes immortal, trapped in an animal's body forever. And this is where I believe Nagini's change of heart comes from, because I don't believe she joins Grindelwald. I believe she stands firmly against him, and is a good character with a good heart. She falls into darkness over time due to her being permanently stuck in an animal's body that she wasn't born in, that she doesn't belong in. Can you imagine it for a moment? You're human. You like nice clothes, you like certain foods, you like being able to run, to walk, to dance, to sing, most importantly, to talk, to communicate. Now all of a sudden, you're armless, legless, speechless. Your diet is now animals. You digest whole, all while having the same human mindset you have had your whole life. Nagini must have went insane at one point, not being able to revert back to human form, and having nobody to talk to, as Parseltongue is so incredibly rare. There was so much time for a lot of anger and resentment to build up. A lot of time. Now, Grindelwald falls in 1945, just as Tom Riddle graduates with his plans set for world domination. Tom is a Parselmouth, as we all know. He has a strong connection to snakes. He always had since he was young. They find him. He's been drawn to them, and them to him. He informs Dumbledore that he can speak to snakes. That's when I think he first encountered Nagini, before his meeting with Dumbledore. Now again, this is just my personal belief and personal opinion, but where would you find a Viper on English soil roaming around? You wouldn't. However, you would find Nagini on her travels, angry, vengeful, until she meets a boy who for the first time in years can hear her speak. Now, where would Nagini have encountered Tom? A certain cave, perhaps on a field trip. And what did Tom Riddle do to young Dennis Bishop and Amy Benson on that certain day in that cave? He scared them beyond belief to the point they never spoke a word of it. Maybe, just maybe, Tom Riddle, being the first and only person Nagini could hear and be heard from, asked the snake, or the person, to frighten the two accompanying orphans for personal joy in exchange for simple conversation. That's how I believe Voldemort gained control over Nagini on that very day. Now, as I've said, that is just my own guess on their first encounter, and I think they would have parted ways that day anyway. I believe they'd meet again in the forests of Albania when Tom went to locate the lost diadem. This time, older and more experienced, Riddle knew he may have use for Nagini one day, and therefore turned on his charm in order to seduce her loyalty. Nagini, like before, would simply want conversation, and I can't blame her. We as humans really don't appreciate something as simple as being able to communicate with others. Take away the ability to speak, many of us would find it incredibly difficult. Take away the communication ability altogether, we'd most likely go insane. Voldemort became her only friend, her only ally. The two would have talked for quite some time during his fall from power also. And honestly, I believe she's the only thing Voldemort came even remotely close to caring about, given their history together. I also believe she allowed him to take control of her several times, most likely during his time hiding in Albania. It didn't matter how long of a gap in time they went without seeing each other, because I think I rightly assume that one day he would call upon her to be by his side permanently, something she held onto. Nagini was Voldemort's friend, The only true person the Dark Lord could trust. The only one who would never betray him. He turned her into a Horcrux, and that says it all for me. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate your support. Everyone, notifications of uploads are more important than ever. So please, if you haven't already, turn those notifications on to make sure you're notified the moment my video goes live. Making videos is what I love to do. It's my dream and my passion. However, it does cost time and money to produce this content. So if you have $1 to spare to support me on Patreon in exchange for some exclusive unseen content, then you can click the Patreon link below or at the end of this video. Please only support me if you can afford it. And make sure to follow me on Instagram at InstaDeanJ and on Twitter at PotterFolklore. Check out my other videos appearing on screen, and please make sure, most importantly, to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again everyone, and please have a great day.